Hi everyone, Rachel Gray here. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Today we are tackling another episode of how to choose a career. I'm going to be interviewing my friend Anna from Anna and Events. She is going to be talking about her journey to events, to event planning, to forming her own company, to being on Gary Vee, and so much more. I'm so excited for this episode. I hope you are too. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for being here, Anna. Before I get started, I was telling Anna earlier that the event industry is very near and dear to my heart. I love all the people in it and I love what they stand for. Just like community and bringing people together. I love that. So I wanted to start out with asking you a little bit about yourself. Tell me about Anna growing up. Who were you? Just tell me a little bit about you.
For sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for thinking of me and connecting with me. I've totally loved all of it, and thanks for having me. So, who I am, I'm Anna. Nice to meet everyone. I started really young. So, I had to get a job very, very young to help out with financials at home. So, I was 14 years old, and I started in restaurants right away because that's the only place you can work when you're that young. And I was seating tables, scooping ice cream, like just busy jobs. And then I quickly turned 15. And so I was itching for more work, and I started working under the table at weddings. So I would like serve tables, even though I was like way too young. And I would just do it for cash. And I would spend my summers in very hot weddings. And it was kind of my first introduction into events, but I didn't really see that industry yet because I was so young and I was kind of just working around. And that grew actually into all of high school and college, working 2 to 3 jobs in the hospitality and events industry at all times. Like I never had less than 2 jobs. So I got a lot of experience very, very quickly. And I fell into the industry. Like anybody in this industry, I'm sure, as you know, is once you're in, you can't leave because you fall in love with it. There's such a social aspect, there's a family aspect, and as well as there's like that adrenaline of giving people great times and smiles and memories. And I loved it from day one, absolutely. And so I decided to go to college for it. And throughout college, kept working and did everything I could. And I quickly got into management after I graduated college. So that's when I fell into hotels and I discovered like the corporate world, all the sides of the industries. And then
before you move to the hotels and everything like that, can you tell me exactly what you studied in college? Because some people may wonder, hey, like I want to do something similar. What should I pick as my major?
Yeah, so I'm in Ontario, Canada. So we have like our college system works a little bit differently, but I studied hospitality management, and that covered kind of like how majors and minors work, but it just covers everything in one. So I studied hotels, restaurants, theme parks, events, and tourism in like one program, and it was a 2-year program, and I got my diploma in it, and I loved it. I actually got to spend a week at Disney World doing their hospitality workshops, and that was like
in Orlando.
Yeah.
You know, that's where I just came from.
Really? No way.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so we probably know some similar people, but it is the place for events. Like that's the event hub. So yeah, love it.
It's just magic there because they've perfected hospitality. They've perfected every level of service. And you walk in and you just, like, as Disney would say, you see the magic.
Yeah, for sure. So you actually studied, like, you know, you knew what you wanted to do before you entered the doors of university, correct?
Yeah, well, I actually, so from all these jobs, I went into it with the mindset that I wanted to own a restaurant. And it sounded simple. I got into college, realized it was not simple. And funnily enough, I connected with this one professor, and he taught me so much, and he got me a lot of connections and helped me network. And he said, within the hospitality and events industry, there's jobs in it that you don't even know exist yet. He goes, because it changes every single day. He has every friend he had met, he said, is now doing something different than they went in for. And that's kind of what actually exactly happened to me. I went in looking to have a restaurant, and now here I am diving feet first into, or head first, I guess, into weddings, events, and food and beverage and leadership and entrepreneurship. And I kind of found my path with that. And with that, I found my purpose.
I just wanted to get back to kind of high school days. Did you ask like a counselor or something to know what major to pick, or how did you come up with that major? Because I actually just discovered that you could study hospitality when I worked in the event industry. So how did you really understand major exists? Go ahead.
So in high school, I took a cooking class, if I remember, and I was working a lot. So I actually asked a lot of my bosses and managers at the time what they were doing. And I asked the people that I looked up to what they were doing. And I kind of dabbled with a lot of different ideas and what I wanted to do. And I kept coming back to the fact that I loved food and beverage. I loved the social aspect of my job. And I'm lucky enough to live in Niagara, which is like the wine country of Canada and of Ontario, and it's a big food and beverage hub. So we actually have 2 hospitality focused schools here. So it was very accessible. And then as well as my grandfather growing up my whole life, he would take me across the border into Buffalo and New York and to these fancy restaurants and hotels. And it was kind of like, I guess, in my blood that I would fall in love with it. And so in high school, I actually got more from like my bosses than my teachers, because they wanted me to go the trades route because it was like guaranteed income. And I went to I just didn't really have anybody at the school that was guiding me more than my actual workplaces, funnily enough.
Yeah, very interesting. Just wanted to mention as well, you can actually go to school at UCF for hospitality as well. So for those of you who aren't in Ontario and are in the US, just know that there is a major, and I think it's ranked like very high up. I don't know if it's number 1 or number 2, but they're really highly ranked. Do you know about them?
Yeah, I've heard. I remember when I was looking at schools, I looked at some in the States and they were all incredible.
I kind of wanted to dive now into mental health. That's something that I talk about a lot. Just being transparent and not being ashamed, it's the same as having a body injury. We all go through it. You're very transparent on your social media about mental health. Can you kind of walk me through that and how or if it has affected your career?
Yeah, so I'll share a little bit about my journey. So my journey, I guess, is one I'm still on. It's very different, I guess, or I guess it's the same as a lot of people. A lot of people go through it, like you said, just like an injury. It started young for me, and it's still something I'm kind of going through and processing every day. And actually, when I graduated college and went into corporate, I realized, I discovered a job I hated. I didn't like losing the social aspect of my career. I would stop taking care of myself. I kind of lost that purpose, similar to a story you were telling me earlier. And it was really hard. It was kind of that dark time where I didn't know which direction I was going to go. I didn't know if my schooling had been worth it as much as I loved it so much. And I had to really take a step back and reevaluate. And so my boyfriend and I, we decided to take a break. We took a summer off to travel. And by the end of the trip, I found myself only focusing on all the social aspects around us. I was dying to get back in a restaurant. I was dying to get back in creating experiences for people. And it was 3 months later that I was like, I need to go back to my roots, back to what I love doing. So I came back home and I started just doing small jobs because I just come back from a big trip. And I started working in the tourism industry here, so in Niagara Falls. And I loved it because I got to see events. I had food and beverage. I had so much surrounding me. And I started to feel fueled again. And with that, I was able to start taking care of myself again. I started therapy. I love therapy. I'll be in it forever because it's like your own medicine. Even now I say that. I totally am a big preacher of it. And so I was able to start taking care of myself. And with that, I went out on a whim. I said, I've always been in love with weddings and events, and I wanted to really get into it because I loved all sides of it. Events allowed me to go into my food and beverage side, allowed me to bartend, it allowed me to work with like young servers, it allowed me to train people, allowed me to do everything I love to do. So I went on a whim and I applied to one of the biggest event venues in Niagara, and I got an interview. And this was 3 weeks after my trip. It was very, very soon. And I got the job on the spot. And here I am 3 years later, literally sitting in it. And it taught me so much. And it's totally the family atmosphere. We do 1,200 to 2,000 events a year, and 300 of those are weddings. And I've grown so much here. And with that, it has empowered me to start my own business. So at night, I spend it here at the event venue. And in the mornings, I have my own business as an entrepreneur. And I do marketing for event companies and event specialists, as well as I do my own side freelance planning. It's a long journey, but it got me there.
Yes, no, I totally get that, because I feel like sometimes we get to this place, especially in our 20s, where we're kind of lost and we don't know if, especially like you said, if the education that we got was worth it, or if it was pushing us in the right direction. And we're just like, you know, our mind isn't in what we're doing every day, because we spend like 8 hours of the day at this job. And it's like you have to actually be committed. You have to actually like it, and it has to connect to your purpose. And it's just like, how do you find that purpose? So I really like your story of, you know, taking a step back and not feeling pressure to keep going because you're in the middle of it. So I really, really appreciate that. I want to now move on to how I saw you in the beginning. I saw you on Gary Vee, guys, and this is just the power of networking, because like if I see somebody and I think, oh, I could connect with this person, I will literally find them and be like, hi, my name is Rachel. And that's literally what happened. So I just want to talk to you about your experience with Gary Vee. You know, a lot of us look up to him because he's just like an amazing entrepreneur, and he gives so much good advice. So how was that experience? And also, do you feel like it had some effect in kind of propelling your career forward and having you start your own business? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I've looked up to Gary for so long, just like many others, and he's incredible for so many reasons I don't even need to explain. And I, even at my darkest times, it was when I found him that I was like, okay, this is the advice. I was trying to surround myself with good people and leaders that, you know, I could look up to. And so I kept that in my pocket for so long. I kept all of that strength because I needed to build myself up to find my purpose. Because everyone knows, as you find your passions and your purpose, you're fueled to do so much more. And so when Gary Vee started his show, I was like addicted, watching every day, like many others. And I was in this transition phase of whether or not, at the time I was just working online as a virtual assistant to make some extra money. And then in the evenings at the event venue, and I was like cruising, I was loving it. I was very, very happy, but I still felt myself wanting to do more. My goal one day is to be 100% my own boss and have my own big luxury company and be able to provide healthy workplaces for everybody, especially in this industry. And so I felt that was my goal, and I had all these ideas, and I was like, how do I know they're going to work? Like I have so many ideas and so many passions, like, are they good? And it was that voice, second guessing, overthinking. And I was like, I want to just like, you know, get advice. I don't know what hit me, but I was like, you know what, I'm going to apply, because I was like, if anybody's going to tell me what I need to hear, it's going to be Gary Vee. And so I applied to be on the show, and literally 24 hours later, I got a text from his team being like, we want you on the show. We love your story, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I cried, of course. I'm very emotional, enthusiastic, as you need to be in this industry. And I kind of had a little freak out, and I cried. And it was about a 3-week process from the time I talked to his team to actually get my episode, like on my episode. It's just because just how it works on the back end. And so I patiently waited, and I finally got my turn. And I kind of did it more, I think, for my own business mindset and to empower and encourage what I was doing, because I was in this position. Do I transition from just a virtual assistant to my own event marketing company, where I can take the event marketing company to become a planning company, and make those ideas more than ideas and just, you know, do it. And I needed that empowerment. So I kind of did it, I guess, to encourage myself. And so that's what I asked him. I said, you know, I have all these ideas and all these passions, And I have this story that I really feel is worth sharing so I can empower other entrepreneurs and other young girls that went through similar stories as me. But how do I know it's going to work? And as simple as it was like, sometimes you just need to hear it. And he turned to me and he said, you just have to do it, but you have to be patient. And if you saw the episode, you heard it. And it was 3 days later, I rebranded my company. And now, I think 6 months later, my company has its own name. I have my own website. I have all these things happening. I signed up with a new business coach. I invested in myself. I've now done 3 online courses to hopefully empower me. And then I also partnered with one of my very close clients who turned best friends. And now we're officially business partners, and we're starting a new company in spring 2021. So everything started aligning when I just bit the bullet and started.
Yeah, sometimes it's like in us, and all we have to do is listen or hear the right person say it, and then we just take it. And it's just to listen, It doesn't have to be Gary Vee. It can literally be this episode.
Yeah, literally.
Just go, guys. So I want to get into like the pandemic. So I was in the events industry. I know it hit events really, really hard. And I mean, I know we just talked about mental health and all of that. A lot of people, especially in the events industry, are struggling and they just don't know how to navigate these waters. How did you navigate them, first of all? And do you have any tips? And also, you're starting your own business. This is a very precarious time to do that. Can you just talk to the entrepreneurs, also talk to the people in the events industry as well?
Yeah, I love this question. I have a couple different ways to answer it. So first and foremost, I'll talk about the event venue I work at. So we're lucky that we're a big property. We have 5 ballrooms and 2 restaurants. So our restaurants have been keeping us going. And then also we're preparing for next year or the year after, depending what's happening, to be the busiest year, because everything that's getting moved is moving into one summer. So it's a lot of preparation right now. So it's a lot of office time, as well as we're all working in the restaurant. But with that, all of our clients are heartbroken. We're going from 2,000 events a year to maybe 5 that are very, very small. And we're going from 300 weddings to all of them rescheduling, which is like very hard, and maybe like a couple small elopements. So it's definitely taught us a lot of patience and a lot of understanding with, heartbroken brides, heartbroken companies, and having to kind of console them. And I find my like bedside manner with clients has improved so much, because all they need is a voice, and all they need is an ear and somebody to be there for them. And that was the biggest challenge this year for me and my coworkers. And luckily we have a really good support system here, and we've been being coached through it. And the biggest thing is just being patient and using this quiet time to prep for what's coming, and staying positive as much as you can. We had about 3 to 6 months from working from home. And then now we're lucky to have the restaurants. We've had our doors open, but otherwise it's been a lot of just planning and prepping for next year or the year after. But the biggest thing is just supporting each other and supporting your clients, because obviously you want to keep them. And it's been hard for them just as much as it's been hard for us. So it's been a process there. And then for my own business, I will say starting an event planning company during a pandemic is crazy. But I'm a kind of person who I don't want to lose this quiet time as much as it's not a positive time. It's also a time where we'll never be this quiet in the industry again. So I invested in my courses. I was lucky enough to do that. And I took the time to study. I've been Googling and researching how I can build now, so later that it can turn into success. So I've been trying to use this time, I guess, as amply as possible and as efficiently as possible, so that when we are all back and in a positive place and we're all celebrating and back to events and busyness, that we're all ready for it.
Something I also learned, and I resonated so much with in your industry, is empathy. Like, in order to work in events, you have to be so empathetic, and you have to always put the client first, because like your whole business is people. And I saw that firsthand, and it was so empowering to work in a place where it was people focused and not really, I mean, revenue is important, but it's like the people first and then the revenue will come. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I really, really enjoyed that. And I would say to anybody who kind of has, as you said, bedside manner and is like a very soft-hearted person who just loves people at events, you should check it out, because I mean, that's just something that I really admire about you guys and what you do and in the whole industry in general. But I also want to talk about something I saw you post on social media as well about virtual events. How have you been incorporating that? And, just like talk about navigating an industry with virtual when your business is people and trying to connect.
The biggest thing with the event marketing company, because I manage two event focused businesses, and that's where my event marketing business really lies, is managing those kinds of businesses. And it's actually been really incredibly creative and challenging. I love a good challenge, as most event and hospitality people do. And we came into March when this all started with, holy crap, what do we do? And it was kind of panic mode. But with panic mode came the challenge and came the creativity. And my one client, she completely pivoted her entire company to virtual events, and it completely took off because there was a demand and supply. And my other client, he is a DJ business. So it was like, how do you DJ without events? So what he ended up doing is doing virtual concerts, and they totally took off, and he was able to provide some positivity during a really hard time. And now people ask for them every day. And it's been really good. But it was definitely with event companies and event businesses, or even just event workers, you have to find the things you can focus on. Whether that's marketing or pivoting something that you've been doing in person online. I've seen a lot of virtual wine and cheeses, virtual scavenger hunts, trivias, and making experiences just as you would do in person, an experience. So we all thrive when we all have a bunch of people in a room and we're all experiencing wine or food or each other, depending on the social event, or if it's a wedding, you're experiencing the celebration, and finding ways you can pivot that event online. So it's been a challenge, but I will say you just have to get creative and you have to find what you're looking to do, and you'll make it happen.
For sure. And I think that applies to all aspects in life, even after the pandemic is done, there's always going to be a challenge, and we just have to put our thinking caps on and go for it. So I now want to ask the final question, which is, there's a lot of people who are just starting out, or maybe they're in high school and they're looking for a major. They're looking for their path, their passion, their purpose. What would you say to them from your perspective, and, you now finding that passion and purpose? What would you say?
Okay, I love this question. I have three points.
Okay.
One is be patient. You don't have to know right away. Take your time. No matter what anybody says, you do not need to know right away. And number two is invest in yourself, and don't be scared to invest in something that isn't what you would expect. So I would say invest over spend. And I let people think about that one. And then the third is, every problem that you might have right now or you see in the future, there will be a solution for. You just have to find.
That is relevant to everyone.
Yeah. That's what I would tell myself if I could go back.
Yes, that's relevant to me right now, and that's relevant to so many people. Thank you so much, Anna. I know that this has helped people, and you probably have inspired someone to join the event business. So I appreciate you, and thank you for coming on.